He is risen. Uh-oh. There's the traditional response of, he is risen indeed. Let's try that again. He is risen.
He is risen indeed.
Let's keep that rolling through the Easter season with each other. First of all, just a little something about our present state to mention it, that there's a joy here in this church, and in our hearts and in your homes, and yet it's tinged by some sadness. It's not the same with the church mostly empty, and yet filled with God's presence as his temple. It's the same with you. There's an emptiness we feel inside it. Don't forget, we are his temples. The risen Christ in his glory dwells in us. It's not ideal. We miss you. We're trying in this dark night of the church and our world, and whether we think it's right or wrong with the way bishops are approaching this and trying to manage the situation, I do think we will be blessed by our humble obedience, as the saints teach us. Let's not forget, though, that Satan is prowling, and he wants to sift us and scatter us as you're away from closed churches, away from the sacraments. We have to keep our guard up in Christ. Yesterday, many priests and bishops throughout the world prayed a prayer, a spiritual warfare prayer of St. Michael, and an exorcism prayer in private, but to combat Satan and what he'll try to do in this time. But God will have the victory. He will bring great good from this. I'd like to share with you something I discovered recently by Laura Ricketts, an article that she entitled The Dark Night of the Church. And it was inspired by St. John of the Cross's dark night, as he was in the cell, in a prison cell for 9 months, locked up. She likens that to our experience, and I'd like to share one paragraph she wrote. She said, "In times like these, we want to see the brave, bold church. We imagine a church that flexes her muscles and stomps on governors, boldly defying laws and orders that her members have decided are unjust. In this dark night, as the body of Christ, we have demanded the church of the Crusades, but what we have is the church of the catacombs. What history has taught us is that the one is necessary for the other. The church of the catacombs, the church that existed under duress and persecution, is the same church who marched forward under the banner of the cross to preserve Christendom. The church of suffering and secret and silence. The church under constraint is purified and formed during those dark nights. What St. John of the Cross tells us is that without the dark night, there cannot be a bright morning." Let us pray that this all lifts soon, and we can find ways back to the sacraments soon. The main takeaway I'd like you to take away from this Easter homily is, what are we going to do post-Lent? And one thing I'm going to focus on, and I want us to focus on especially, is fervor through prayer. Fervor through prayer. If we're not leaning in, we're going to slip away. Gabriel, our server here, was talking to me last night about soon-to-be Blessed Fulgesheen, that he mentioned this man who every Lent he would give up alcohol. He was an alcoholic. He'd say, "Okay, I'm giving up alcohol this Lent." Easter would hit, back to the bottle for the rest of the year. Lent, okay, I'm giving it up again. It's like, what's the point? Lent. After Lent, it's not a time to shelve our asceticism. It's time to continue and to deepen our prayer lives. Lent is a pattern for how we live as Christians, leaning in, moving forward, not backward. It's a boost. Lent is a boost to help us, to help our life in the risen Christ year-round. Pope St. Leo the Great said, Christian, remember your dignity. We could say, remember your calling to divine life in Christ. Have you tasted it before? Have you tasted it? He is generous. If you knock, the door will be open. He will not leave us lacking to move forward and deepen our union with Him, guided by the Holy Spirit. In our first reading from Acts, we heard, we are witnesses of all that He did, the witnesses chosen by God in advance. We're called to be witnesses. Pope St. Paul VI once wrote, modern man listens more willingly to witnesses than to teachers. And if he does listen to teachers, it is because they are witnesses. Not to offend any teachers out there. Students, listen to your teachers. But they better be witnesses. We better be witnesses. Have you ever seen the movie Risen? Risen. It's good. It's worth checking out. And there's a scene in there where Mary Magdalene, after the resurrection, is taken by Flavius. He's a Roman military tribune who's in charge of figuring out what happened to the body of Jesus, trying to capture those apostles and followers of his. As Mary Magdalene is talking to him, she says, if you knew what happened there at his tomb, all cares would cease. Claudius responds, where did you take Yeshua, Jesus? She says, he's right here. Open your heart and see. He says, give me the others and I'll grant you freedom. She says, I'm already free. Can we be a witness like Mary Magdalene? One important way to focus on in this homily, in this post-Lent, this Easter season, prayer. It's a struggle for the lukewarm. It's a struggle for the devout. And it's a worthy struggle. It's okay to show others we're struggling with prayer. Us friars struggle with prayer. But it's essential to grow in the promises of Jesus in his risen life and to please God. A Catholic speaker, John Leonetti, said, faith without prayer is a hobby. I'd like to offer some inspiration from Mother Teresa, Saint Mother Teresa of Calcutta, and a soon-to-be blessed Carlos Acutis, a young 15-year-old boy. At the end of Mother Teresa's 1984 Nobel Prize acceptance speech, she said, and so, my prayer for you is that truth will bring prayer in our homes. And from the foot of prayer will be that we believe that in the poor it is Christ. And we will really believe, and we will begin to love. And we will love naturally. We will try to do something, first in our own home, next door neighbor, in the country we live, in the whole world. I'd like to condense that, as some people have, and just say, if we pray, we will believe. If we believe, we will love. If we love, we will serve. If we serve, we will find peace. Mother Teresa also said, let us love one another as God loves each of us. And where does this love begin? in your own home. How does it begin? By praying together. Of course, we know that everything flows from this altar, from Jesus, our source and summit in the Holy Eucharist. And it's flowed into your homes. Please God, it's going to flow back again here. But yet it's there. It's present. He's present. And I've been inspired by the pictures that you sent of your home altars. It's on our Facebook page. Hearing from the Gospel family that they're gathered every day as a family to pray the rosary. I'm sure many of you are too. The Tierney family, who will take the readings of the Gospel, and they'll go through them. They might not watch a home Mass or live stream Mass, but they'll take the words and they'll go through it like a liturgy in their home. And then they'll read the Eucharistic prayer together. And then offer up their intentions, uniting to the Mass. It's inspiring what's going on in the homes. So in your home, if you could, if you'd like to, take a pen and a piece of paper at this moment. I'd like you to write down some things. I have some points, a little guidance on prayer to help you. Nothing that's rocket science, but something all of us need to be reminded of. Please take some notes. Going back to Good Friday, I saw Father Mike Schmitz on his Good Friday homily. He said, what made the apostles run? What made them deny Jesus after they were saying, not I, Lord, not I? He said, I think it was that they didn't acknowledge their weakness. Their weaknesses. It's okay to do so. St. Paul did it. I know that when I'm weak, he is strong. Acknowledge our weaknesses. Jesus, before he was crucified, before he rose, he was stripped of his garments. Most likely he was naked on the cross. Nothing before the Father, just the body that he took from Mary in his offering. All of himself, nothing else. He was stripped. Mark this, we are stripped before we are raised. Stripped before being raised. First, we strip ourselves like Jesus. This means making some room, letting go of certain things, certain pleasures. St. Thomas Aquinas, he talks about healthy pleasures, and that can help us in sorrow. It's okay. He talks about a good bath, talking to friends, getting sleep, a nap. He says these are good, these are healthy, and can help us. Thanks be to God, the giver of good gifts. But it's also essential to strip ourselves of certain pleasures, deny ourselves, as Jesus said, to make room for greater things, a greater somebody, each other, God. And then second, rise with Jesus. Prayer, uniting with him in prayer. So I'd like to offer an acronym to help us do this. I am. I-A-M. As God revealed himself to Moses in that incredible revelation in the burning bush, he just said, I am, he is. To help us remember that and to encounter I am. I-A-M, I, intention. A, awareness, and M, motivation. Let's walk through those briefly. I, intention. What I mean about this is an intentionality with our prayer, with our preparation for prayer. It's not a haphazard, okay, maybe I'll pray tonight sometime, or I'll try to in the morning. Sure, let's try to pray all the time, lifting up our hearts when we're inspired by the Holy Spirit. But intentionality means scheduling with the Lord. To do this, we got to make room. Us friars, we're really blessed to be in an order. Our lives are ordered around prayer, around God, with each other. You know when a brother doesn't show up for a prayer, you might get asked by the superior, you at? We hold each other accountable. Spouses, we need each other. Maybe a spouse could take the kids, say, be intentional about this. I'll take the kids 15, 20 minutes. I got them. You go ahead. Go into your inner room, lock the door, spend some time with the Lord, and then we'll swap. Maybe you could do that. Let's be creative, be intentional. I recently heard and read an interview of the mother of a soon-to-be blessed Carlos Acutis, I just mentioned. He's an Italian young boy. It's incredible. He died in 2006 at the age of 15. He's down to earth. He built his own website about Eucharistic miracles. He was a normal teen. He helped his friends when they were sad and bring them over. He played PlayStation. He defended the disabled from bullies. He tried to put his relationship with Jesus at the center of his prayerful life. And he said, to always be close to Jesus, that's my plan. He had a plan. And how he lived it out was very intentional. He said he loved to play his video games, but he knew it could just take over the pleasure of that. And pretty soon, you just get filled and you feel empty after too much time. And he knew that. And so he said, only an hour a week I'll play my PlayStation. And he kept himself to that. It wasn't from his mom. Only an hour a week. He loved to eat. And sometimes he could just garble up food and he'd overdo it, get a stomachache. And so he would temper his eating. As I mentioned, St. Thomas Aquinas talked about those pleasures. Pleasure, healthy pleasures are not bad, but to make room to deny the self for something greater. One of our Carmelite friars, Father Gabriel of St. Mary Magdalene, said, the way that leads to mysticism is none other than that of an energetic asceticism, making room for the Lord. The mother of Venerable Carlos said, he just lived like heaven was real, like God was real. So our intentionality means scheduling in the Lord each day. Sometimes we've got to be flexible, creative, work together. Intentional. A, awareness. After I, A, M, A is awareness. What I mean is, now that we've had our time, we've realized I'm weak, Lord, I can't let pleasures get the best of me, crowd my life over, or busyness or whatever. I'm going to make room for you. And then, A, what do we do when we sit down? Awareness. I think it's very true that sometimes we wonder, why aren't we experiencing the risen life in our prayer? Why aren't we experiencing the risen Jesus? Well, sometimes we're too me-focused in our prayer. Sometimes we're too feelings-focused. Sometimes it's image of God, who we think he is. We don't think he's one that is running towards us when we approach him, like the prodigal son, with his arms open in love. Sometimes we're too rushed in our prayer. We've got to get through this. Sometimes we're holding back. Sometimes we're not stirring up our motivation. More on that in a bit. But for the awareness, what do we do when we settle into prayer? The friars recently watched the movie A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood for our Saturday night recreation a few Saturdays ago. The story of Mr. Rogers. It is really fantastic. And in there's a dialogue where Mr. Rogers is on the phone with the guy who's going to interview him, Lloyd Vogel. Lloyd does not want to do this interview. Mr. Rogers says on the phone to Lloyd, on our program, I try to look through the camera into the eyes of a single child and speak to him or her, trying to be fully present to their feelings and their needs. Lloyd says, right. Mr. Rogers responds, do you know what is the most important thing in the world to me right now? Lloyd poet says, no. Mr. Rogers says, talking on the phone to Lloyd Vogel. St. Therese of Avila says, when we begin our prayer, we should have a twofold remembrance. First, remember who God is. Don't just run into your prayer when you sit down for those consecrated prayer times we're talking about. Remember who God is. Lord, you are almighty. You're all present. Your eyes are upon me. Your mercy is overflowing. God, you are fully present to me. Thank you. You are the source of life. You created every cell in my body. I'm yours. Remember who God is, however you want to do that. And then the second is remembering who we are. Lord, I'm weak. I need you. I'm here. Help. And then we begin our prayer. Awareness of who God is, awareness of who we are. So one, intentionality, scheduling, making room. Two, awareness. I am. Come into that awareness. And lastly, motivation. It says in Hebrews 12, keeping our eyes fixed on Jesus, the leader and perfecter of faith, for the sake of the joy that lay before him, he endured the cross. For the sake of the joy that lay before him, he endured the cross. The joy of what it would bring us in forgiveness, in new life, in hope, in heaven, eternity with God. That was his motivation. What is your motivation? I know that helps me when I start my prayers. I've been reflecting on this homily. The joy, I know it's hard at first. It's hard just to sit down and to do those preparations for prayer. But I know I'm going to remember how good it is when I'm fully present to God, knowing he's fully present to me. It's good. And the power that's present in it. And the calling of God to holiness in it. And the salvation that flows from him through it. Remember that. Remember that joy in the Spirit. That'll help you. On Carlos's website, Blessed Carlos Acutis, he wrote a list of instructions for becoming holy, encouraging people to go to Mass daily and confession weekly. But his very first rule he wrote on his website was for becoming holy, in quote, you must want it with all your heart. So brothers and sisters, I am intentionality, awareness, motivation. Recall your motivation. I'd like to leave you with this. Father Larry Richards, popular speaker, good priest, in the talk online, you can find it if you Google The Truth, Father Larry Richards. In his hour-long talk, which is incredible, he mentions in there that he was with a group of high school students, and he asked them, prove to me Jesus is God. And they started saying, well, the Bible says so. They'll throw out an argument against that, and then they'll say, well, he died, Father. And he's like, well, if I die, does that make me God? And he's like, he rose from the dead, the student said. He's like, ding, 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 ding. Prove it. How do you know that he rose from the dead? Of course, there's logical arguments that we can have that helps our faith with all of these things. But his response was, he said to the teens, ask me why I believe Jesus rose from the dead, why he's God. He said, okay, Father, why do you believe it? He said, because I know him. I know him. Father said, I spend an hour, a holy hour, every day with him. For years, I've come to know him. Witnesses. Mother Therese said, God has created us to love and to be loved. And this is the beginning of prayer. To know that he loves me and that I have been created